Frida Kahlo writes Viva la Vida 8 days before dying, in 1954, while she is finishing her last painting. She is 47 years old and she is seriously ill. She paints her last goodbye on a blood-red watermelon. So left life a person who never lost hope, despite the extraordinary nature of her sufferings. Viva la Vida is the joy of living, it's the gratitude for what has been accomplished, it's the inner strength of a woman who never gave up. Viva la Vida is also a cry of pain, the awareness of what she's leaving. The story of Frida Kahlo's life is riddled with suffering, but it's mainly the story of a person capable of transforming pain in art, difficulties in joy of life. Frida was 18 years old, on September 17, 1925, when the event that marks her for the rest of her life, for better or for worse, occurred. The bus on which she is traveling, to return home after school, collides against a tram. The impact is strong, some people lose their lives, she is seriously injured. A handrail pierced her back from her vagina, compromising the possibility of maternity. Her spine is fractured in 3 parts. The accident forces her to stay in bed for 9 long months, with a spinal cast that doesn't allow her to move. It was precisely this event that pushed her towards painting, spending a lot of time alone and lying down, to pass time, she begins to paint. This episode encapsulates the essence of Frida Kahlo's life, the trauma and strength of recovery, the pain and desire to be born again. Frida, with the courage of facing her condition, was able to transform limits into opportunities. In 1928, Frida meets the love of her life, the painter Diego Rivera. He is the most famous Mexican painter of that time and he is 40 years old, she is 20 years younger. He is also the first to see the great artistic talent of Frida, encouraging her to continue. The story with Rivera accompanies her for the rest of her life, even if with ups and downs, ups of overwhelming love and downs of painful betrayal. The unlucky events of Frida's life are not over yet. Despite the injuries reported in the accident, she tries to have a son. Unfortunately for her, motherhood will be denied 3 times. The abortions mark her deeply, but she will have the power to represent her trauma on the canvas, in a raw and sincere way. She will say in an interview, "By putting walls around your suffering you risk letting it devour you from the inside." In these years, she is suffering terribly not only for the abortions, but also for her husband's continuous betrayals, the most serious of which with her younger sister, Christina. After discovering his betrayal, she separates from her husband and she heads to New York, where she paints pictures full of anger and disappointment. However, the separation from her husband doesn't last for long. The 2 artists can't stay away from each other, they are united by an intense need of each other. In the meantime, artistic success comes along. Frida becomes a woman and an independent painter and aware of her abilities. Her paintings are exposed in Paris at a Mexican art exhibition. But pain is always lurking in the artist's life. Her health conditions get worse, especially her back. During her lifetime, she faces up to 30 surgeries and will also have her right leg amputated in 1953. In the same year, her first solo exhibition in Mexico is organized. Here is where something extraordinary, that well represents Frida Kahlo's joy of living that she has never abandoned, happens. On the evening of the inauguration, her health conditions are so critical that her doctor forbids her to get out of bed, but her husband gets someone to carry Frida's bed to the gallery. She arrives in an ambulance and takes part in her party drinking and singing with the audience. She couldn't have missed the most important moment of her career. Frida's desire to live has not yet vanished and is well expressed by her phrase, "Doctor, if you let me drink this tequila, I promise not to touch any at my funeral." She will die the next year due to pulmonary embolism. How can we get inspired by the story of this great artist? Frida Kahlo's life teaches us how suffering from a traumatic event can turn into vital energy. It teaches us, above everything else, how the courage to confront what makes us suffer can give us new possibilities, never imagined before. For Frida it was painting, for others it is a new relationship, a new job, a new passion, or greater gratitude towards life. These new possibilities have the flavor of a goal and a rebirth at the same time. All this is made even more fulfilling by the awareness of the path that led us to that point. In physics, the term resilience is used to indicate the ability of a metal to absorb shocks and energies coming from outside without breaking. By using this metaphor, one can overcome Frida's story with other eyes. The traumas crossed by Frida Kahlo were real earthquakes that forced Frida to bend to the far end. She suffered and cried. She did not deny her suffering, instead she represented it in her paintings. Though eventually she absorbed the shock by finding a new place in the world and a new strength. Living the gift. Life stories to inspire us.